Youniverse by Rafael Salazar. The biggest delusion that possesses human beings is the belief in separation and boundaries. In fact, our minds can only think and reason from the basis of boundaries. We distinguish all the different manifestations of the universe with words, seeing them as independent objects. Thus, we create boundaries of what a thing is and what it isn't. We catalog them in different groups of things, such as types of plants, species of animals, different planets, types of people, and so on. Since the very beginning of thought, we have set out to understand reality by naming all its different appearances. And in doing so, we convince ourselves to see these appearances as separate and unconnected. We create boundaries. Boundaries such as the ones between humanity and nature, male and female, good people and bad people, science and spirituality, us and them, chaos and order. Yet beneath all the illusionary boundaries of the mind and holding all of these boundaries together lies only one boundary. The boundary between you and the rest of the universe. The feeling that your sense of self, your own I amness, is completely separate from the rest of nature. Your feeling of you as separate from the universe is the biggest illusion of the human mind. We are all operating on the basis of I am that and I am not that. We choose what to identify ourselves with. We choose what we are and regard everything outside of that as completely separate. I may operate from the belief that I am only my body, that I am a bubble of skin and everything outside of it, such as my house, the people I love, and the earth, is completely separate and independent from me. In fact, most of us don't even feel we are the body, but we feel that we have a body. We feel that the body is a vehicle, a tool we use to do our business, but we don't feel that we are the body. Some of us feel that we are our minds, our thoughts. We identify with what we think, and from this create our personality, our preferences, and an ego. I may say, well, I am Rafael, a student, painter, and writer. I am friendly but sometimes a bit quiet. I am intelligent but sometimes lazy. But then I may sit and meditate and realize that all of this is just thoughts, associations that I have identified myself with. I realize that I am not Rafael Salazar, but that which is identifying itself as Rafael. Just in the same way that most of us don't feel that we are the body, but that we have a body. I realize that my name, my personality, and even the body are like masks, useful, but not my true self. So then, what is myself? Many spiritual traditions and teachers tell us, look for yourself. Look within and find yourself. And so we go looking for that which we are. But the whole reason we are told to look within, to look for that independent and separate I amness, is to realize we cannot find it. We cannot grasp it in thought. We cannot objectify it. Of course, we have the word consciousness to point towards it, but to grasp in thought what consciousness is results impossible. The very nature of consciousness is to be impossible to objectify. Maybe this is the reason why science has had such a hard time understanding consciousness. Scientists work by objectivity, and consciousness cannot objectify itself. Trying to do this is like trying to see a telescope by looking through the very same telescope, or trying to touch the tip of your finger with the same tip. You can try it. Simply sit still and try to objectify your consciousness. Try to look at it. You might feel and be able to objectify your thoughts, your feelings, your bodily sensations. But you will find that to objectify that which is objectifying and grasp it in thought is impossible. You cannot grasp the source of thoughts with a thought. And so you find yourself in the funny and somewhat embarrassing situation of not being able to find what you really are. You cannot find what you really are because there is nothing to find. Because you, as something separate from the universe, do not exist. It is an illusion. You are not separate from the rest of reality. There is no real boundary between you and everything else. And to realize this is to see the illusion. So then, if the sense of you as separate from the universe is an illusion, how can you describe what you really are? Well, if your I amness is not independent from the universe, like a small bubble floating in a void, the only other alternative is that this boundary doesn't exist, that you are one and the same with everything that is outside of you. Put simply, you are the universe. When I go outside and look at the mountains, I may sense that I am an independent observer looking at something outside of myself. But if you pay close attention, you may realize that you cannot be an observer without something to observe, and there cannot be something being observed without an observer. Both the observer and the observed depend on each other because in reality they are part of one process, one experience, which is observing. In the same way, you cannot listen to something without something to listen to, and something cannot be listened without a listener. The listened and the listener are part of the experience of listening. This is true of everything else in your reality. You cannot experience being alive right now without everything else that seems outside of you also existing or being alive. You need a universe to experience the body, and you need a body to experience the universe. There is no subject and object, no experiencer and the experienced. There is only experience. These types of reflections slowly lead you to what can be called the consciousness of oneness. You realize that all boundaries are illusions created by the mind, and that reality is really that which has no boundaries. There are no real boundaries in the universe. Everything is connected, and this is true about yourself as well. You are the universe, experiencing itself. There is no inside and outside, no separation. The existence of one thing no matter how small, depends on the existence of all things. Just in the same way that the universe needs to exist so that you can exist, you need to exist so that the universe can exist. Because in reality, you are one and the same process as everything else. The whole universe, with all its seeming separate appearances, is one single process. And you are that process. As Alan Watts perfectly put it, you yourself are the eternal energy which appears as this universe. You didn't come into this world. You came out of it like a wave from the ocean. You are the universe. What you are doing right now is something that the universe is doing. Every thought you have is the universe thinking. You being alive as a human is the universe experiencing itself as being alive as a human. What we could call consciousness of oneness is simply the awareness that there are no boundaries between you and it, and that you are it. You might understand this intellectually, but try to feel it. Try to experience it in consciousness. Become aware now that you are not a poor soul stuck in a universe it didn't create, but that you are the universe. You are one with eternity itself. The more we bring this awareness into our lives, the less we will suffer, the more we will love, and the better we will dance the dance of life. Because when you transcend the illusion of boundaries and realize that you and it are one, it makes you realize that every other person is also one with you. Every living being, the earth, sea, and sky are all a part of you. When you look into the eyes of your beloved, you will see a mirror of your own beauty. When you observe the vast mountains, you will see the expansiveness that is also within you. Everything in this reality will be like a mirror, and you will realize that when you are looking outside, you are also looking inside. How could you continue your resentments, your regrets, your pride, and selfishness when you know that everyone around you, in the deepest sense, is also you? How could you still be ignorant of the world's suffering when deeply you know that it is your suffering? How could you remain unmoved and not protect nature's rich beauty when you know it is your beauty? To realize that there are no boundaries is to know that all everyone and everything is, in the deepest sense, is yourself. Even the stars that are light years away. You will lose fear of life when you realize that to fear life is to fear yourself. You won't be so scared of death anymore, because someone who fears death is like a drop of rain that is scared to drop back into the ocean it came from. Instead, you will see yourself as capable of giving endless love without expecting anything in return. For the love you give to the world is the love you give to yourself. To know and live with the understanding that all boundaries, no matter how convincing, are illusions, and that you are the universe, is to step into the consciousness of oneness. You will not only understand, but experience the reality of being one with everything. Then you will be able to sit still and knowingly say to yourself, I am the universe.